Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Summer. Today I'm showing you guys how to cut your hair on your own at home while you are growing it out. So this is going to be a perfect cut for those of you who need just like a dusting and a trim on the ends to keep it healthy, but you don't want to remove a lot of length because you are letting it grow. So I need to do this on my own hair, so I thought what better time than to do a video on it. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, so we're gonna just jump right into it. I've got myself draped like a real client, and I'm gonna show you guys how I section my hair and everything for this as well. I cut my hair last right in the middle of July, so it's been 2 whole months. I typically would go a 3rd month, but I have an event coming up, and I highlighted my hair a couple weeks ago, so I need to get in there and just kind of dust some of the ends. So I have a little bit of sparsity in my side. I'm quite thin on my right side here. That's an area of concern, so I'll walk you guys through that because I don't really want to lose much length. But I'm going to show you how I section it off. I just separate right at my ear on both sides, and I clip those forward out of the way because I'm going to be cutting the front last. In the back, I just section it off like I'm doing a normal like trim on somebody. So we'll start from the bottom and work our way up to the top in the back, and then we'll go into the sides. So the thing that you want to remember most about when you are like trimming your hair in between cutting it while growing it out, you want to think of it that you were just sort of like dusting the ends. So I like doing it with my hair dry just because I'm really able to see everything. I'm not worried about really taking off length. I'm more so just skimming. So I start in the back, I just split it in the middle into 2 pieces, and I'm gonna bring them forward. So this is what you need to remember the entire time you are cutting your ends when you're doing a cut like this. You are just skimming and you're just following what's already there. You're not really trying to recreate any new shape. If you get into areas that are maybe have some unevenness, we'll get to that when we get there because I've got a few myself. But we're just really trying to go in and just dust. You're just skimming. So I'm gonna bring this forward and I'm just gonna follow the line. So there's a little bit of an angle that we can see here. And all I'm doing is just lightly skimming that. These are just literally to get any split, frayed pieces off. I'm not coming in and cutting it hardcore blunt. I'm not going straight across. I'm just following the natural flow of how my hair was cut last. I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Bring it forward. The further down you pull your hands, the more control too you'll have on your section, and you're just gonna skim. It's that simple. So now I'm gonna let down my next piece, which is probably really not going to need a perimeter cut because we're gonna do this in a layer. So I'm gonna go up about 1 inch, give or take. You don't need it to be like super, super precise. That might be a little bit more than 1 inch. But so we'll be taking this section here to create our first layer to skim those ends. So I'll split it in half at first, kind of as much in the middle as I feel like it is. It doesn't have to be exact. The perk of this type of cut is because you're taking such little off the ends, you really have less room for messing anything up. You're just dusting. Like I remember growing up, my mom used to always keep a pair of scissors in the car, and at red lights she would just nip away at her hair. So think of it like that if you have either ever done that yourself or your mom did that. We're just doing a little bit more of a precise version of it. So I just bring this straight up and I'm just gonna cut into this on those outer edges. I'm just lightly removing it. It's like maybe, I don't even know that you would call it 1/4 of an inch. You're just dusting, you're just skimming. So I'm gonna take on the other side, same thing. And we're gonna comb straight up You'll have the hair underneath falling out because that is your perimeter length, and just dust those little ends. So we're basically sort of point cutting for it. We're not trying to do like these hard blunt lines. We want it to keep having its like lived in look that it already has. And now, because I know I've done these two sort of outer sections, I'm just gonna come across the middle here and go up with it and just cut. Perfect. And then we're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna drop your next section, try to kind of stay in that same little 2-inch mark, and clip the rest of the hair out of the way. So lots of rinsing and repeating. And I always just pull my back layers like this straight up. I find it's the easiest to see and control. You could over direct if you want in front of your face too, you know, whatever works for you. But I just always will pull it straight up. My hair's getting so long I can't see it in my mirror I have down here. Just skim those ends. So like I said, I typically would wait to do this till about my 3rd month post haircut because I'm trying to give my hair the best chance to grow. I'm doing all I can to keep it healthy as I grow it out. But like I said, I did just do some highlights. So the ends were a little crispy, needing that trim. And I have an event I'm going to next week. So I was like, I need these ends a little bit dusted before they start spreading up the rest of my hair. And while you're like just barely taking anything off, it always does feel so good. So I'm gonna take my 2 outer ends here. I know we're not taking a lot off, but sometimes I get a little, you know, the perfectionist in me comes out and I wanna make sure that they're matching and I'm pretty good with them. So this side of my hair is thicker. So the left side of my hair is thicker than the right side. I have really not much hair on this side. So there's a little bit more length right here. Some of that is also, it's thicker, so it looks like it's a little longer, more so too. I don't like to even it out a ton because my hair is so thin on the other side. I don't need to make that other side thin, but where I have like a space that looks too bulky, I'll just come in here and lightly soften it up more. By point cutting. So point cutting, you are just lightly, you're going in, and as you pull out, you are slowly closing, but you are not closing the scissor all the way. It's just to lightly take out some bulk. It feels good. So now we are gonna just move into our last section here on the top. So I think I did 4 in total. And again, we can break this into 2. And I do bring everything up to the middle as much as possible. I part on the side, but with the back, I like to keep everything centered. And we're just gonna go straight up and dust. I am gonna just lightly thin this out on myself, totally optional, but I'll show you guys the difference. So this side of my hair is not only thinner, but I don't know how to explain this without, like, we're gonna be here all day. So I'm not gonna explain much. This side of my hair is thinner. It also lays completely different. I don't know how to explain it. So when I pull this up, it's usually shorter. So we can see there the difference in length. But when it falls, they even out. I know this about my hair. It's been trial and error. But because this is so much shorter, I am just gonna lightly soften this here on the one side to make it just flow. Again, I don't worry about it because I know that it does like blend in, but I'm just gonna point cut this a little bit. And this is again, totally optional. If you don't like point cutting, don't do it. If it's something that you don't even have to worry about because your hair maybe isn't weird like mine, perfect. But that just will soften that top layer for me a little bit too. And like I said, this side of my hair is thicker, so if I ever do need to like texturize or thin it, it's only ever on this side because apparently the right side of my hair just can't be helped to be thick. All right, so we have the back done, nice and simple. We've dusted those ends. I'm gonna dust the hair off of myself, and then I'm just going to clip this back so I don't touch it again because we're going to be moving into the sides. And the sides is where I always have my most concern about cutting, especially on my right side because there is just, you know, there's not a lot going on here. If I take this up, there's nothing underneath. I've got this forever whole. I work on it so hard to get these hairs to grow. And they are right now somewhat, I've been using, what is it? I used to use minoxidil from Nioxin and they stopped making it. So then I bought, the name is driving me crazy. It's a pink bottle. I'll pop it up here, the brand. But I've been using that and I think it is helping. It's just you have to use it every day. So the sides I worry about taking too much weight out because again, this is so thin. So where this side is not as worrisome. So what I like to do to preserve the weight that I do have, I will first, I guess I'll skim the ends here because they probably need it. I don't really want to skim the ends on the side, but we'll do it for the sake of education. So I'm just gonna come up here, basically right at my recession point here and section this off where I basically have all the hair on the sides of my head is all up top. You know, very little on the actual sides. So to skim these side ends, it's the same idea. We're just gonna take it and I'm not really cutting any major length necessarily. The more you bring your hands down, the more control you have over those ends, and we're just gonna dust. The smallest amount really does go a long way when you are trying to grow your hair out because it still does need to be cut. You don't need a cut every 4 weeks. You don't need a cut every 6 weeks. Honestly, about every 12 is ideal when you're trying to grow it out. I mean, if you have crazy healthy hair, you know, you could go longer, but if you're somebody who actively is coloring it, highlights especially, or if you're putting a lot of heat on it, you probably still want to trim it and dust it like this at least every 12 weeks to just keep it healthy. You do not want to let your hair grow, and then you just have all these split ends everywhere. And you're like, oh cool, I'm to my growth length, and now it needs to be all cut off. I have been there, done that, trying to learn from my past mistakes, right? So the layers on the side, I do create a little bit different than how I do the back. So I do them more traditional to how I would cut somebody's hair. So we're gonna come in sections at a time. So you can use your finger, your comb, you know, whatever works best for you. And we're gonna bring this up and out very much like how I regularly cut other people's hair. So we're gonna come up. Hold on, I gotta angle my mirror here so I can see. We're gonna come up and I go out twisting, and you'll see my perimeter hair is falling because I do not want to cut that perimeter weight line. I need this weight. So I'm going to even just take out more. But we have our hands at an angle. I can see this is my shortest piece right here. Hopefully you guys can see this. I don't know what camera I should show you. My shortest piece is up here at the top of my fingers. We're gonna follow that angle. I'm not gonna be removing all this length. We are just nipping the very outer edges of that hair. But I'm still moving in a somewhat diagonal pattern down. Oh my gosh, and that already looks so much better. I have like a couple pieces there that were whoosh. So if you wanted to, after that, you could come and go even higher up in angle, just to skim a little bit more to just lightly get all those hairs. We're gonna go to the next section. We're gonna do the same thing. Take the hair, we're gonna angle it slightly back. And while you're doing that, you're lifting up and you are twisting those fingers up to the sky. All that perimeter is gonna drop. Bring your hands down. And again, we're just following this angle. We're cutting at a light diagonal and just nipping into those pieces. Just lightly point cutting. I'm going a little bit more over and cut. Now, I'm not gonna opt to go any closer on my side here. We'll do a little bit of a face framing because I get really worried about removing this weight. Obviously, I have a hole here because there's no hair underneath. So I don't need to layer this hair. I don't need to pull that back and jeopardize removing any more extra length. All we'll be doing is just trying to make that flow with the face frame. So I literally will just look to the side and I'm following essentially from here up. So hopefully you guys can see this. So there's my base length and I'm basically removing this hair that's popping out past the hole. And I don't even, I won't use my fingers for this. I just kind of nip at it. I always tuck this side of my hair. So it's like, I don't really care that there's a hole. I mean, I care because it's literally been there my entire life. And I don't know that it'll ever really go away. But I tuck anyways, so it's not like you really see it. I rarely leave the hair down. Sometimes when I curl it, I'll leave it down, but with the curl, it kind of hides it. So all I am doing is just combing this down and I'm just lightly kind of sort of nipping in. Just very lightly to try to lightly blend it without like, you know, making it more obvious of like, oh, hey, that girl has a hole in her hair there. So this is why I'm so neurotic about when I do like cut my mannequins for my other tutorials about maintaining the weight and the thickness. It's because I've had it removed. I've had my hair in the past where people have cut into this area too much and it's just like it's gone and it takes forever and it sinks your soul and it breaks your heart. So I just really try to blend it. I could go more, but I'm not going to. You know why? Because I don't want to. So we're just lightly nipping at that point cutting just to dust it up enough without removing necessarily all of it. But that blended it in a lot better actually. Good enough. So that flows in a little bit better. It got rid of some of these pieces that were a little crisp. And then when I go to tuck it, we're in, you know, no man's land. No one even knows the difference. So we're gonna do the same thing on this other side. We've already cut that perimeter. We're just gonna come section to section at a time. And your hands are gonna be placed a little bit different. So you're gonna come back, you're gonna twist. This time your fingers are going to be pointing downward. That perimeter is dropping. And we are gonna take it from a different angle, because before, you could still come in where you just nip it like that, but it's easier if you sort of just go up. But you're still following in line here with that angle. And again, I need to lightly texturize this side a little bit more by point cutting because it is a little thicker. And then if we want to angle even more, we'll come up and really lift up and just skim those ends. And next section. Make sure all that perimeter falls. Follow with the diagonal here and just blend that in. And then I'm gonna go forward just a little bit more because I don't have to worry as much on this side about a hole. I'm sure I'm not the only person, the only one who has hair that is thicker on one side than the other. I think everybody does, really. Some it's just more obvious than others. And then I'm really over directing again, remember, and I'm just lightly point cutting into it. And then because this side is a little thicker, I am just gonna texturize it a little bit more with the point cutting because I know that it can look a little bulky compared to the other side. All right, so one thing too, I wanna show you guys really quick what you can do also to kind of look at the layers. To make sure you're skimming them and following a guide, or to cross-check, let's say, you can take your hair and we can brush it or comb it forward to where we can see it right in front of your face more, and you'll get to see that line you've been following that just kind of flows down. And then if you have some pieces that you're like, oh, that could be blended a little bit more, you could do this at this point. So I have a little on this outer edge here that I feel like I could just lightly curve into. This is my front face frame piece that I don't really want to touch underneath. So before you cut, sometimes check where that's coming from. I don't want to remove all that length here personally, but the further back layers, you can definitely do that to bring it forward and to just look at how it's curving, but it should flow with this nice shape. And like I said, if you have some pieces that you lightly need to cut, just very lightly skim. Remember, this type of haircut is not for like completely restructuring the shape of your hair. It's just to blend and to nip not to blend even, it's to just dust those ends. So now we're gonna take a look and try to match up my face frame, which, is pretty minimal because I always tuck on this side. But I'll take a good look, kind of similar how I did before. And this side isn't as bad. I could angle down here if I wanted to, but I'm not going to because I don't want to cut it. And we'll just kind of glide down. I just sort of freehand it, looking in at the mirror to dust and follow the shape that's already there. So if you were to blend this in, you would just follow the line here and remove that length, which I guess I'll do it for you guys. It's not a lot. I'm not taking off enough, but you would just follow the line that curves down. So that's matching up pretty good. I could probably stand to shorten this a tiny bit just so I get a little bit more swoop when I do like a bouncy blowout. So what I like to do that is I'll just come in and take like this front little triangle piece, and I just skim the very outer edge because I don't want to cut into it a ton. I kind of do what I was doing with those layers where I brought them forward. I just take a look. I see a little bit of the angle and shaping, and we're just gonna start at the bottom. You can see I've got my hands curved here, and I'm just rounding almost with it. And I'm not really creating more of a face frame per se, but I can see like these little hair bubs where they're split, and it's so nice to be able to get them nipped and clean. And if I over direct it a little bit more, I can kind of angle this corner. That's gonna give me just a touch more shape. So it's a lot of just very soft, take your time cutting, because you're just following a guide that's already there to just remove those frayed pieces that get, you know, damaged on them from heat, from color, various things. So that just, yeah, it blended in a little bit nicer. It's very minimal and soft, but I'll be able to get just a little tiny bit more swoop. And if you want to come on the other side, because let's say you don't have a hole like me, you would do the same thing where you're just bringing that down and you just sort of follow your pattern a little bit. The less hair you want to remove, the more you want to have like an angle for your face frame and just really lightly hit those outer edges. And then I'm going to take this hair right behind the front, and we're just going to come all the way over and across the face. And I'm going to just angle that a tiny bit right here. Yep. Perfect. So yeah, that just gave me a little bit of dusting, nothing crazy. I'm gonna like re-blow it out to shape it up a little bit so you guys can see, you know, that it still looks the same, just more fluffed up and reshaped. So now I'll be good for the next 12 weeks. I'll probably cut it, I guess, right before Christmas time. But yeah, a nice good trim. So I'll show you guys what it looks like after I've reshaped it all, and we'll get you guys out of here. All right, guys, so we have our finished dusting trim haircut, and I actually want to show you how much hair we ended up taking off of myself. So even though it's just a minimal amount, it does add up and it makes such a huge difference. And then here you can see what my hair looks like, refluffed and reshaped a little bit. It feels so much better because I know I've gotten off those little like crispy ends that wanted to form after I highlighted it. But just remember, you're just skimming those ends. You're not trying to recreate a shape. You are just dusting the hair. This is meant to just lightly get you through while you are growing your hair out to whatever your end goal is. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this week's video. Let me know in the comments if you did, and I will leave you with this video you can check out right here next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.